Welcome, College Hoops fans, to the 2K Sports Season Preview Show. We're glad to have you along for what's sure to be another outstanding season of college hoops action. I'm Greg Gumbel, and with me at the anchor desk, my partner, Clark Kellogg. We're ready to give you a look ahead to all the ups and downs of the upcoming season, so let's get the ball rolling with the best teams in the nation in the very first Top 25 poll of the season. These are the top 5 teams in college hoops as we begin the new season. The North Carolina Tar Heels come in as the number 1 ranked team, followed by Stanford, Arizona State, Penn State, and Texas Tech. So, Clark, what's your initial impression of our top 5 teams?
Those are some terrific teams, Greg, and the thing I find most fascinating about the top 5 is the number of contrasting styles we see here. These teams couldn't be more different, and I love when we have that kind of diversity at the top of the poll.
The North Carolina Tar Heels are projected as the favorites here in the early going. They've got a whole crew of high school. Stanford is in the number. Arizona State comes in as number 3. Penn State starts the year as the 4th-ranked team. They bring back. Texas Tech is the number 5 team. Here's the next group of teams in our preseason top 25. What's your impression of that set of teams?
We've seen plenty of future national champions come out of this group from the middle of the top 25. I'm not willing to say just yet whether that is going to happen again this year, but a few teams certainly have the potential.
The Horned Frogs of TCU, the number 14 team, have been talked about quite a bit as we head into the season. Their dreams of tournament glory last year were quickly dashed in a first-round loss.
This year they have the potential to do much better than last. Last season they spent a lot of their energy getting to March Madness and were worn out once they got there. I'll bet they handled the journey to the tournament much better this time.
The Florida Gators, the number 12 team, have also. What do you think of this collection?
This is a year, Greg, where I think a few of the teams on this.
The Wyoming Cowboys, the number 18 team. The Arkansas Raiders, there was no shortage of movement. The Iowa coach is one of the Northwestern coach. We've come to the part of the show when we look at the top players. Let's move on. And finally, now let's move on to the second team All-American. Welcome to the 2K Sports Studios. I'm Greg Gumbel, along with my partner Clark Kellogg. Coming up on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll recap the biggest games of the week, as well as tell you where the top recruit in the nation is headed. But we begin with a special player who was an easy choice as our player of the week in college basketball.
Gooding had one of the best weeks we've seen out of a big man in quite some time. He was sensational this week, not just compared to other centers, but to any other player in the country.
It was a magical week for him, Clark, no doubt about it. The fans really got behind him as the points kept piling up, and you could see him feed off their energy. He's a cult hero to those people now, and if he has a few more weeks like this one, he'll be one of the all-time legends at that university. There was no shortage of excitement on the court in the past few days, so let's take a look at our games of the week. Let's get started with what turned into an absolutely terrific matchup. North Carolina toppled Georgia Tech.
The North Carolina Tar Heels weren't fazed at all by the hostile crowd. In fact, they seemed to feed off being in the enemy's building and used it to their advantage. I love to see that in a team. That's a sign of a tough-minded squad. North Carolina was going into this game looking to build some momentum, and I think they did it, Greg. This win really impressed me just in the way the players carried themselves. They looked to me like a team that could really get into a groove and start doing some serious damage to their opponents.
Although this next contest seemed predictable enough, one of the best teams in the country suffered a severe shock to the system. Seton Hall defeated Texas Tech.
No one could have predicted this outcome, Greg. Texas Tech was sitting pretty as a top 5 team, but you've got to have some doubts about them after a loss like this. Markham took care of business in this one. His 14 points led the team. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous.
There's just as much action in the living room as there is in the locker room at this time of year as college coaches make their pitch to high school stars around the nation in the hope of finding a special player that'll push their program to the next level. Colorado has to be considered the big winners in the recruiting wars this week. They brought in a young man whose talent is undeniable.
Pompey.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel here with my partner, Clark Kellogg. Just ahead on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll preview some of the biggest games coming up this week in the NCAA, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. But we begin with a special player who was an easy choice as our player of the week in college basketball.
Covington is our choice this week, and he might be winning an even bigger award at the end of the year. There's a lot of talk about him as a player of the year candidate.
You said it, partner. He was a scoring machine with a total of 67 points. He simply could not be stopped. His touch around the basket was so silky, it had to make you think of some of the college game's great all-time scorers. I think we're going to see a few records in this young man's hand by the time all is said and done, if this week is any indication. Now let's take a look ahead to the games that get top billing on the schedule in the days to come. This will be a fantastic battle. This is shaping up to be a prototypical style versus style matchup. Great scorers on one side of the court, great defenders on the other. This is going to be a real showdown.
Oregon plays a brand of defense that should make the difference in this game. They are a tough team to score against. And if you don't squeeze the orange, they'll take it. I think they'll be in top form for this contest.
And we have another upcoming contest that promises to be a classic. This game matches a pair of top 10 teams and is sure to bring both teams' fans out of the woodwork, not to mention a fair share of the national media.
Providence has been playing really well for a long time, and I don't see any reason why they won't keep that up. They've got a great win streak going. Someone will end their streak eventually, but it's going to take a miraculous effort to do it, and I don't see that happening in this game.
There was no shortage of excitement on the court in the past few days, so let's take a look at our games of the week. We get started with an important conference battle in the Big Ten. Ohio State overpowered Michigan.
The Ohio State Buckeyes made the most of their opportunity to move up, and that's going to serve them very well as we get closer to conference tournament time, even if it's just in seeding position. Horner was the hero of this one with a terrific performance. His 17 points led all scorers. And in addition to his scoring, he is a tenacious defender. He makes everyone around him a better defender. With this combination of offense and defense, it's easy to see why they won this game.
And what a game we had as two top 10 teams squared off. North Carolina dismantled Virginia.
This was like a heavyweight fight back and forth, and both sides landed their fair share of big punches. You've got to expect that from a pair of top 10 teams like these, and they did not let us down. North Carolina played some absolutely stifling defense. They made the guys on the other side work for every basket, and you can see that reflected in the shooting percentage. They never let up on the defensive end. That really took the pressure off the offense and allowed them to dictate the tempo of the game. To me, that was the biggest factor.
That'll do it for us here in the studio. For my partner, Clark Kellogg, I'm Greg Gumbel. Thanks for watching College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Enjoy the exciting week of college hoops action to come. Welcome to the 2K Sports Studios. I'm Greg Gumbel, along with my partner Clark Kellogg. Coming up on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll reveal the best of the little guys in our mid-major top 10 list, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. But first, let's take a look ahead at some absolutely huge battles coming up this week in college basketball. This should be a terrific matchup. Both these teams are fighting to improve their position among the nation's elite teams, and they're going to have to go through each other to do it.
Northwestern would be my pick here. They're so strong on the inside that I believe they'll be just too tough to match up with. It would really surprise me if that talent discrepancy on the inside doesn't tell the tale of this game.
And there's another game on the agenda that's too juicy to ignore. A meeting between a pair of top 10 teams is always entertaining, and there's certain to be plenty of action in this game. Neither side is going to give an inch in this contest. You can be sure of that.
Texas A&M plays a brand of defense that should make the difference in this game. They are a tough team to score against. And if you don't squeeze the orange, they'll take it. I think they'll be in top form for this contest.
Now let's unveil our list of the top 10 mid-major teams in college hoops. These teams could probably hold their own in any of the power conferences if they had the chance.
I just love talking about the non-power conference team. This is the kind of stuff that gets me fired up for March. A couple of these teams have the potential to be very dangerous in the tournament. No one more so than the team at the top of the list.
New Mexico State is a team that I'm not sure should even be included on this list because the schedule they've played could have put them in the toughest conference in the country. When you're a mid-major team, yet play that kind of schedule and still have a decent record, that says an awful lot. There was no shortage of excitement on the court in the past few days, so let's take a look at our games of the week. We had a pair of top 10 teams duking it out, Clark, in our first featured game. Providence got the better of West Virginia.
This was like a heavyweight fight back and forth, and both sides landed their fair share of big punches. You've got to expect that from a pair of top 10 teams like these, and they did not let us down. Providence played some absolutely stifling defense. They made the guys on the other side work for every basket, and you can see that reflected in the shooting percentage. They never let up on the defensive end. That really took the pressure off the offense and allowed them to dictate the tempo of the game. To me, that was the biggest factor.
Although this next contest seemed predictable enough, one of the best teams in the country suffered a severe shock to the system. Florida State knocked off North Carolina.
No one could have predicted this outcome, Greg. North Carolina was sitting pretty as a top 5 team, but you've got to have some doubts about them after a loss like this. Watkins took care of business in this one. His 18 points led all scorers. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous.
That'll do it for us here in the studio. For my partner, Clark Kellogg, I'm Greg Gumbel. Thanks for watching College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Enjoy the exciting week of college hoops action to come. It is an annual rite of spring, bringing with it excitement and emotion that can be found in no other sporting event. The NCAA Tournament. Your wait is finally over, the brackets are ready, and the drama of March Madness is about to begin. Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel, and this is the NCAA Championship Basketball Selection Show, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Joining me at the anchor desk, as always, my partner, Clark Kellogg. We're all set to show you the seedings and pairings, so get out your bracket sheet, get those pencils ready. Here are the basics. Of the 65 available tournament bids, 31 are automatically given to conference champions. But before we unveil the brackets for this season, here's a look at the final top 25 media poll of the season. The rankings look a little different than they did last week. The Virginia Cavaliers jumped all the way from the number 16 spot to number 11.
They're peaking at just the right time, Greg. This is exactly the way you want to be playing going into the tournament.
Also, a new team has fought its way into the top 25. The Colorado Buffaloes break into the poll as the number 20 team. It's time to talk about the topic that has a lot of players and coaches holding their breath right now, the NCAA tournament bubble. These are the 10 teams that aren't worried as much about where they'll be playing as if they'll be playing. Clark, who jumps out at you there?
Georgetown had the chance to set themselves apart from the rest of the bubble teams, but they never could get over that hump and guarantee themselves a spot.
You got that right. And who else might be in the same position?
Washington State could have sealed their invitation with a better regular season finish, but the fact is they play in a very tough conference, and that does weigh heavily in their favor.
I'm sure it's been a long week for those teams, but the wait's almost over. The NCAA Selection Committee has finished its meeting, and we're ready to unveil the top 4 seeds in this year's tournament. The North Carolina Tar Heels are the top overall seed. On to the second number 1, the Northwestern Wildcats. And finally, our 4th number 1 seed will play in the San Jose Regional. The Horned Frogs of TCU are in the tournament field as a number 1 seed for the 3rd time in the history of their program. Now, here's how the brackets shape up based on where the number 1 seeds have been assigned. In one national semifinal game, the winner of the East Regional will play the winner of the San Antonio Regional. In the other semifinal game, the winner of the St. Louis Regional will play the winner of the San Jose Regional. Those games will be played on Saturday, April 4th. Then it'll be on to the national championship game on Monday night, April 6th. Any surprises in there for you, Clark?
Well, when you see the selection committee deviate from the top 4 teams in the media poll, it's a little surprising. They've opened themselves up to some criticism with these picks.
So with the number 1 seeds out of the way, it's finally time to tackle the rest of the brackets. First up, we take a look at the East Regional. The North Carolina Tar Heels are the top seed, finishing at 28-5. They're next up on the Northwestern Wildcats. What a tremendous regional final we'd have in this bracket if the number 1 and 2 seeds here make it through the first 3 rounds unscathed. That could be one of the games of the tournament. And finally, let's have a look at the San Jose Regional. The Horned Frogs of TCU are the top seed, finishing at 27-7. They were conference tournament champions in the Mountain West Conference. They'll take on the Loyola Ramblers, the number 16 ranked team. This marks their 10th appearance in the NCAA tournament in school history. Next up is the number 8 seed. The Virginia Tech Hokies have established themselves as one of the best teams from the ACC. They'll be going up against the number 9 seed. Duquesne comes in as the Miami comes in as the number 5 seed, finishing at 21-11. Texas Tech. And now the number 7, the Pittsburgh Panthers. Our number 6 seed is from the SEC. The Arkansas Razorbacks were rewarded for their outstanding play this season with an at-large bid and a ticket. On the surface, I'd have to say this regional might be the most difficult of the 4. Certainly the depth of quality teams here is very impressive. Whoever emerges from this bracket will have been through some battles. What are your thoughts on our top 16 seeds, Clark?
There are no real off-the-wall picks that jump out at me. These 16 teams are all pretty deserving. Let's give the committee some props this year. Dayton has some flaws that are going to keep them from being a dangerous team in that number 3 position. There are usually some Final Four contenders among the 3 seeds, but I'd look elsewhere this year.
Now, let's bring the conference. We showed you the bubble team. Welcome to the 2K Sports Studios. I'm Greg Gumbel, along with my partner Clark Kellogg. Coming up on the NCAA Tournament Edition of College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll preview the marquee matchups of the Sweet 16, as well as show you some of the great action from the first 2 rounds. But we begin with the player who dominated the first week of the tournament.
Edwards was phenomenal this week. As performances by 2 guards go, his ranks up there with any of them this season.
Absolutely, Clark. He didn't waste any time getting hot. A lot of players want to save their best for the end of the tournament. Well, he was on fire right from the opening tip, and it carried over into the second round. One look at these highlights, you'll see why he's our player of the week and why his team is on the way to the Sweet 16. Now, let's turn our attention to a few of the huge battles upcoming this week in the Sweet 16. We're really getting into the meat of March Madness now. This should be a terrific matchup. Both these teams are fighting to improve their position among the nation's elite teams, and they're going to have to go through each other to do it.
Stanford would be my pick here. They're so strong on the inside that I believe they'll be just too tough to match up with. It will really surprise me if that talent discrepancy on the inside doesn't tell the tale of this game.
And how about another huge matchup from the third round? I'm looking forward to this game just like everybody else. This matchup has the possibility of becoming quite a little rivalry because these teams match up so well against each other, and it's always a heated atmosphere when they're on the court together.
West Virginia is going to be my pick this time, Greg. Their style could really present some problems on the offensive end of the court, and I look for them to be an absolute handful every time the ball's in their hands.
As usual, the first weekend of March Madness had what are sure to be some of the most dramatic contests of the entire tournament. Our first game was an outstanding matchup from the first round. North Carolina outdid Delaware.
A lot of times, the first round of March Madness gives us the best games of the entire tournament. And this was one of those games. Just a classic tournament battle from start to finish. North Carolina played some absolutely stifling defense. They made the guys on the other side work for every basket, and you can see that reflected in the shooting percentage. They never let up on the defensive end. That really took the pressure off the offense and allowed them to dictate the tempo of the game. To me, that was the biggest factor.
Next up was another exceptional tournament contest. TCU outdid Loyola, Illinois.
Well, Greg, this game wasn't decided until that final buzzer sounded. A couple of different bounces one way or the other, and this could have been a totally different outcome. Azubuike took care of business in this one. His 12 points led the team. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous. This isn't a preseason tournament, Greg. This is the big dance. He stepped up in a way that few players can in this kind of spotlight. And for that, we should give him a big imaginary high five.
That's our show, everyone. For all of us here